What's up guys, Shane's here from Fugatech 3D Printing, and I just finished putting together the awesomely huge Folgertech FT-5 large format 3D printer. As you guys see, here's a little G-Tech Versa i3 aluminum, and there is the FT-5. Huge difference in size. I'll tell you a little about this printer. It does 300 by 300 by 400 millimeter prints. For you Americans, 12 by 12 by 16-ish, somewhere around there. The corner brackets here are melamine wood. It's on 2020 extrusion. Down here saying the melamine takes up pretty much all of the base structure of it. In the back here, that is the electronics components. Come around the side. Here we have the USB, fan outlet in the back. Other side is where our power and our power switch come in at. So, some things with this printer. It is huge, and it is a kit, as you can tell. And as all kits are not created equally, there are some things with this kit that could be improved. One of the main things is this huge heated print bed. It is about 325 millimeters in total size. I put a piece of glass on there that's 300 by 300 millimeters. The bed bows like crazy when it heats up. There are a ton of different ways that people out there have solved this problem with corkboard, silicone heated beds, using 120 volt heated heat pads. I decided just to go with the glass for now, and I went ahead and printed these nifty little corner brackets that hold down the glass. Now I'm only using 4 spots. You actually could put in 8 different screws in here. I'm only using the 4 corners. There's also one in each middle, in the middle of each side. So you can see this is a pretty big print. This is a spool holder. I'll print 2 of them, and they're going to go one on this side and one on this side. It can hold either an M6 rod, smooth rod, or 5/16 threaded rod, which actually I have here on top of my G-Tech on a little custom-made thing I found on Thingiverse. It's pretty awesome, and I can use those to hold my filament, and that way I can put a couple rolls up there and it'll make changing it out super easy if I decide to do that. I also found another mod where right on here and right up here you can put a Bowden tube. So I guess it's kind of like a reverse Bowden, where it's still direct drive, but you have that tube that's going to help the filament. Because as you can see right here, let's try up here. Right here, you can see the filament grinds and pulls across that cable chain. I have not. I mean, unless I mount the spool right here in the front, that wouldn't happen. But that's right in the front, and it's annoying. I mean, in the pictures, and they build it back here, and that is just a horrible, horrible design unless you're using that tubing with the Bowden tube. Right here, I printed off a little GoPro mount, which is what I'm filming on right now. That way, I can take some awesome time lapses. I also printed out a few little end caps just up here, kind of just for fun. They were sharp, but little end caps just kind of make it, you know, a little nicer. Adds a little bit of accent to it too. You know, it's not too bad. This is the Z-axis fix, but I don't really need it because mine works just fine without it. Some people don't. I don't know why, but it actually replaces this printed part right here. Zoom in there. that's what it replaces. And again, mine works perfectly fine the way it is. I have no issues with it. It said only needed a 10mm screw in there, but I'm actually using a 20 or 25mm is what I had left over, because the 10 is nowhere near long enough for this. So that worked out just well for me. Another thing you'll notice, so I printed out a bunch of these. So let me lay them out here. These are just 2020 extruded aluminum clips that I found on Thingiverse. They're pretty awesome. And I went ahead and used them back here. So this is the main wire coming down from the X, the Y axis, the extruder, end stops, all comes down here in the box. And then right up here on the top, you can kind of see the clips here along. There's just one wire from the Y axis, from this side, you can see it up there a little bit, that is held, those are holding in that one. Look at that print, it's pretty awesome. Huge print. I cannot wait to print a BB-8, I'll tell you that right now. BB-8, when I get enough filament and enough time, the head alone is 44-hour print, so minimum 44 hours, might even be about 50 if I tweak it just a little bit more. So we'll see what happens with that. But another thing about the printer, you can see there are 2 threaded rods and there are 4 smooth rods. So the bed is super duper stable. I mean, you can't really move it all. The whole printer would shake before anything happens to the print bed moving. An issue with that is that people don't properly calibrate the printer. They don't properly set it up. They just throw it together and they get, bam, I'm starting to print stuff. Hey, it sucks. I want my money back. So at this print bed, you need to take it and bore all the way down to the bottom and then re-tighten up these connectors on the threaded rod and on the smooth rods. Once it comes all the way down the bottom, and you take it all the way back up top, and then you're going to want to tighten in all of these. And you can see there's 6 of them, 3 on each side. And then you're going to do it one more time down and one more time back up, just to make sure that it moves the entire height of the printer without issue. A couple other things about the printer. When you get it out of the box, these wood pieces are laser cut and covered with dust from the laser cutting. They are filthy. Your hands will turn black, and they'll be black for weeks. So what you need to do is get a wet rag, wipe down all the corners, set it aside, do the next one. You're gonna do all the pieces. There's 8 of these T-brackets. There's 14 of these corner brackets. There is the LCD corner bracket. There's the back panel, the bottom panel, build plate, the Y-axis rods, the spool holder. There's a lot of pieces, probably about 30 in total, 35 in total. Clean all of those first. Huge part of the pre-build. Another big thing in pre-build is all of the screws come in a bag, and they are just all jumbled in there. All of them put together. You know, you get 3 of these bags, and they're all just thrown in there. The only thing that comes in one bag by itself are these M5 10mm screws with their associated T-nuts that hold in most of the printer together. So you need to make sure you sort all of those out first. Use cups, use paper plates, use plasticware, whatever you got. Sort them all out. Takes about an hour. It's well worth it. If you don't have, you're gonna need a millimeter ruler. I happen to have this itty bitty little guy. It goes up to what, 15 centimeters? So yeah, not too big, but it does the job for what I need it for these screws. They range anywhere from 8mm to 35mm, I believe. M3s, M4s, M5s, and all the nuts that go with them. There's some nylon nuts, there's regular nuts. So there's quite a bit. There's T-nuts. You want to sort all those out. When you're putting together this top gantry area, this piece of aluminum and this piece need to be 160 millimeters apart. So here is my 15 centimeter, 150 millimeters. And you can see just before it hits the top, right there, there's a little bit of space there. So I can't quite make an accurate measurement with that, which sucks. But luckily, Folgertech has included this piece right here that holds the spool on there. Oop, I need to put that back. So yeah, can't really see it, but it's right here. That piece fits perfectly right in here on every single one of these sides. You're going to use that to gauge how far down you need to put these T-brackets, give it just a wee little bit of space, and then tighten it down. Because if you don't give enough space, these are wood, they will split, and you will have a bad day because you're going to lose that piece. And then you have to figure out what you're going to print in order to hold the spool holder on there. Look at that, still going. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. I did almost zero calibration on this. It's pretty good out of the box. If you build it well, you take your time, you don't really have to muck with it too much. Maybe it could be just the firmware that I'm using, and I'm using Simplify 3D, but who knows. I was pretty much golden almost out of the box. Very little bit of calibration had to be done, so I must have been lucky. Another thing to worry about, make sure you have the most up-to-date instructions, because the one I had was talking about these end stop wires, which you can see right here. Okay, black, blue, and red. That's great. Well, all the wires are the same length. It doesn't help me out at all, because this x-axis, go around here, this x-axis end stop over here is mounted on the gantry. It tells where the extruder where to stop for the X. The Y is back there, and the Z is right here. Well, that X cabling has to go, you know, all the way down through here, all the way back, all the way down, and in here, and this right here, these 4 screws, right here on the other side of this is the MKS board. That's a long way for a not even 1 meter cable, so you have to extend it. The new version tells you, hey, there's some extra wires that came with the kit. I actually have some of them sitting right here. Some of the extra wires that they give you. Some of these extra wires you're going to swap out. Well, that's great. My instructions didn't say that, so I kind of had to figure that one out on my own. Another issue is these, well, let's stay on wiring. Running it through the cable chain, super easy, no problems there whatsoever. You just need to pop off this side, lay it straight, run it all the way through, and then fold it back up. And then you're going to do the same thing. You're going to pop the bottom off here, lay it all out, string it through, run it over there, and lock it back down. Not too bad at all. If you plan on doing an extra cooling fan, which you can see, I already have one mounted back here, and it's just not wired yet because I don't have any wire. Well, I could use that wire on the floor, but I don't want to. You're going to want to run extra wires through here. Also, if you're doing a BL Touch, which I am, I ordered one, you're going to want to have wires for that too. So grab some ribbon cable, you know, get a couple meters of it. I got some 10 wire coming, and that's what I'm going to be using to run to this, so that I can run that fan, the BL Touch, and anything else that I might want to do. Also with the wiring, on the newest version, it actually is done correctly. It tells you what wires go where for the Y. There's 2 Y motors, 2 Z motors, 1 extruder motor, 1 X-axis motor. So I got 6 motors in total. The 2 Ys are tied together, and they are green, red, yellow, gray, green, red. All those paired together. They go to a green, yellow, gray, red. In my version instructions, it has like blue, green, black, all this nonsense. Didn't have that cable, so that was confusing. Another thing right here is this is the thermostat. It runs to a green set of cables right there. It says white in the earlier version. It says green in the new version now, which is fantastic, but you're gonna go ahead and cut off the connectors to the fan and the thermostat, split them. You're gonna solder them onto this JST connector, and that's going to connect to those 4 wires. Make sure you don't cross them because you're going to burn something up if you do. Run those all the way down to the back to the MKS board, connect it up, life is good. more on wiring. So LCD panel, right here around the back, you can see the connectors here, okay? Pin 1 is red. Those are going to the left. By default, those cables, the pin 1 is to the right. So there's two options here you have. One, you can carve off the little key that's in there that, you know, these are keyed. So you can slice that off if you want. Or you can take apart the connector, flip the cable, crimp it back on, cut off the end, and there you go. I chose the latter just because I didn't want to mutilate a cable, or a connector I should say. But that was my choice, and that's okay. Since we're on the LCD, another thing here is you can see right here is the speaker. It's kind of hard to tell actually, but anyways, it's right here. That's the front of the speaker. That actually touches this front plate, and there's actually a little bit of play here because that touches. I'm actually bending this just a wee bit, which I need to bend that. I need to loosen that up just a little bit. But because of that, this knob that comes with here does not fit because it's deep. I mean, look at that. It's a couple millimeters down there. I'd say it's a good 6-7 millimeters. Well, this rod only sticks out 6 millimeters, so it barely touches that bottom part before it before it just stops. So I went on to Thingiverse. I found this nifty little valve looking knob and I liked it. So I got it, edited it in SketchUp because I'm a noob at 3D editing and anything else pretty much. Even Tinkercad, I suck at it, I'm trying to learn it. Was able to make the hole big enough and slapped it on there, and now it works just perfectly fine. So a little bit of turning and it works. When you're programming this, kind of just spitballing these top of my head, when you're programming this and you're using the Arduino ISE or IDE, whatever it's called, the newest version is 1.6.10. It sucks. It doesn't work with Merlin. Use version 1.6.7 or older. You're gonna get compile errors basically if you use 10. It's not really compatible with the Merlin, firmware, so it's going to error out on you. We probably see that issue like 4 times a day almost on the Facebook group, and I was one of them. I had the issue, but now that I know, I'm like, duh. But we're trying to spread the word so everyone can kind of know that. So that's kind of why I'm doing the video. I've done a decent write-up, I think. A lot of people are reading off that now, trying to help out a little bit. Also in the old directions, down here, underneath the plug in here is a fuse. You get 2 of them. Oddly enough, they don't pre-install it, which is kind of interesting. But I guess not really, because some of the stuff here is pretty odd that they don't do it, but it's okay. It's not pre-installed. So when you go to power on the unit, nothing happens because there's no fuse. So you have to get the fuse out, put the fuse in. I had kind of had a scare like, my printer doesn't work. I just built it, I screwed something up. Nope, no fuse was in it. The new set of instructions do say that, so I thank them for editing that and updating it. Tools. Let's talk about tools real quick. This printer doesn't come with any. Shocking for some, not for others. This little G-Tech printer came with a pretty crappy little kit, but hey, it was better than nothing. And it actually is totally screwing up because I had a huge clog and it sucks, so let's turn that off real quick. Oh yeah, that's beautiful, look at that. Let's take a look at this. Look at that, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. There is something up with that tube, with the throat. I don't know what it is, but it's just bugging the hell out of me. I'll figure it out later. Back to this. What was I? Tools, yes. You need a soldering iron, biggest thing. Doesn't come with it. You're gonna need either Allen wrenches, which I strongly don't recommend using because can you imagine? I mean, hell, there's 5 bolts to put down on every one of these corners. It's 8 of these corners. There's 4 on every one of these. There's 14 of these. I mean, there's like 12 or 15, 12 or 16 on just the bottom plate. So that'd be brutal. You need to get yourself a hex driver set. Get a hex driver set, a good one. Hell, you can even go, this is Harbor Freight. I don't know if anybody gets Harbor Freight. This is a Pittsburgh set. Hoorah, Pittsburgh. There you go. Pittsburgh Pro. It was, I don't know, $4. And it's fantastic. But it's American made. Well, it's from America, so it's better than the little Chinese crap that some of these companies give you. So you're gonna need stuff like that. So you need solder as well as soldering iron. You know, pick up a cheap one, get on Amazon, or hell, you got Harbor Freight again. I've got a cheap little one right here. You know, you don't need any type of, you know, any little wheels. You can adjust the temperature. You need a regular old soldering iron. Heat up the pads, put down some solder. Oops, you're good to go after that. Other than that, for tools, I think you're squared away. Again, having something metric to measure off of would be great for the screws, just because there are, you know, 12 different sizes. You can kind of guess, okay, 8 millimeters are smallest, what's the next size, and go from there. Smart people, you can figure that out, but it would be helpful to have something like that in the beginning so you can measure out your screws. Cable connectors. So the hot end comes with this, I don't know, push down connector thing. It's cheap, real cheap. I've had a couple issues with it already. I've had to unseat and reconnect the hot end heater just because it just stops heating for some random reason. Don't know why, because it's a crappy connector, that's why. So I've ordered some XT60 clips, connectors I should say, and I'm going to be replacing that with XT60 connectors. I will put a link somewhere so y'all can see where that's at. Actually, it's in the write-up, but I'll post this somewhere and you'll be able to see it. These JSTs, I ordered some of those. I also ordered some DuPont connectors because I don't like having these two connected together. It just kind of bugs me because if I need to swap it out, I have to solder it. And what's the point of that if the fan dies? Because fans do die, or guess what, we're idiots and we shove tools into them. I've done it on several occasions to my other printer. Let's turn that off, because that's, again, that's doing that because guess what, I'm an idiot and I broke off one of the fins here, see that? And it vibrates the shit out of this. So much for that. Tools. That should be it. A pair of, well, you're gonna go, okay, so the nylon locking M3s are tiny nuts. Or, yeah, you're gonna need some kind of, whether it be, you know, a crescent wrench, or whether you get something that fits that size. Again, in America, it's really hard to find metric stuff. I mean, I'm telling you, unless you want us to pay out big money, which I don't. I bought a kit for a reason, it's cheap. I bought these tools from Harbor Freight, they're cheap, they do the job, and that's all you need. This kit is the main kit, and it was cheap, but again, it came with some stuff. Wouldn't recommend it though. Also, you're going to want to get some insulated connectors, the spade ones. They might have another name. I have a link for them. Just a simple kit off Amazon with a crimper it comes with. And you're going to want those because inside here, they want you to solder on the main ground, positive, negative, to the power supply, which is these four right here. And can you do that? Yeah. Is it messy? Oh yeah. If you have to swap it out, you have to desolder stuff. It's just horrible. I mean, soldering the build plate is the only thing, the heated bed is the only thing you should be soldering here. I mean, everything else should be soldered or by connector. So do yourself a favor, pick up a couple kits. Yeah, they're about 15 bucks. You might be able to find them cheaper somewhere. I just looked on Amazon real quick for a couple kits. I use them all the time for random things, and I figured, well, I might as well get another kit. They'll be useful to have around. I didn't have a full DuPont kit, which I'm kind of thankful I now I'm going to be getting one. I can use those in the future, but definitely you have to invest a little bit more into this printer than if you just buy the printer. It needs work, trust me. On the Facebook group, someone named Joanne, I cannot think of her last name, created a wiring diagram for this, and it's up to date with all the current wire colors, I believe. I think she swapped the white and green for the thermostat here. So that's fantastic. You're gonna wanna switch between that and the directions. My original set of directions were pretty crappy. The newer set, I just finished looking them over and editing them. I'm gonna send them over to John Folger, who owns the company and created all this stuff. So he can get that updated with a couple notes, more like reminders for people. Most of it's correct now. Most of it I say, again, it's not 100%, but hey, they're getting there. It's a new company. This is a new printer. They're doing the best they can. It is pretty fantastic what they're doing with it. Let's go back. This is $500, guys. That's it. You know what a printer like this costs? If you get like the G-Max 1.5 XT Plus, that's like $3,500. And that's without, you can like dual extruders or something else on it. It takes it almost $4,000. I mean, that is ridiculous for a printer in my opinion, especially at the house. If you want to print big, and if you're like me and you want to print a BB-8, this is the printer you want, because this is pretty fantastic. It's well built, and you can't really go wrong. I say well built, yeah, there's some little issues, but they're all minor. You can solve a lot of it with less than $100 for all of the issues. And that's one other issue let's address real quick, screws. I ran out of 10mm screws pretty early on, so I ended up using 12mm. And I ran out of 12mm, ended up swapping stuff for 16mm, and so on and so forth. Like these, you can tell these are wicked long. Those are supposed to be, I believe, 16mm. I'm using 25s that I had left over. There's a lot of random stuff left over in the kit. It's interesting in the parts bag. But anyways, you're gonna need some extra screws. So if you can go somewhere, go to Home Depot, pick up an assortment, go on Amazon, pick up an assortment from 8 to 25mm hex head screws, machine screws, pick them up. You'll save yourself a lot of headaches. Otherwise, you're going to be trying to make it work with a few things. Again, it's only a few screws that were issues. Nothing really too major, but it is what it is. If you have any issues, I strongly recommend you use the forum. But first, I would use the Facebook group. There's a lot of us that have built these now. There's probably a good 10 of us that have built these and have them working pretty well off the bat. And we've done some minor things to it. I'm getting ready to do a lot. I'm waiting for the mail to come. It takes a while to get to me. But there's a lot of things I'm planning on this. And like I said, you can do a lot with just $100 in upgrades on this. Not even upgrades, just improvements to it that makes your life so much easier. I highly recommend it to everybody. I really don't like the way this filament comes in, so I cannot wait for that to come in. That's an eBay thing from China, of course, so gotta wait 3-4 weeks for that crap to come in. But other than that, it's pretty great. You see, I'm not using any active cooling on the filament here. It's stuck. There's no glue on this. There's no purple glue. There's no hairspray. This is straight onto glass. I will say this is plate glass. This isn't the borealic glass, I think, which is what's more preferred, because I definitely cut my finger on the edge of this already once. It's super sharp. I need to get some sandpaper, sand that down, and try and round them out a little bit. But you put glass on this right away. If you look here, can't really tell because I have the clips on here, but if I take the clips off, the bottom of this heated bed and the glass, it's a significant gap. I would say it's a good 2mm gap that gets in there. So it's crazy. But hey, you do a little bit of work, add a couple things to it, it's going to end up being a fantastic printer. So I think I've gone over a lot of, there's a little IKEA lamp I have. I do it for right now, since it kind of highlights it, because without it, my lighting down here isn't really fantastic, so adding this kind of highlights it. It's also really good when I put the GoPro here. It lights that up quite well. For now, it will work. I have picked up, I talked to another guy in the Facebook group, I just picked up a set of under kitchen cabinet LED bars, a set of 6 of them. So I'm actually going to be mounting 4 of them to each of the vertical struts here. And I'm gonna add the other two, probably one under here and maybe one in the back. The one in the back's not really gonna help too much, but, or, you know, maybe one on this side and one on this side, or one in the front, one back there. I'm not sure yet, but we're gonna get it there somewhere. Or maybe I'll buy another piece of extruded aluminum and put it here so I can add that to the light bar in the back for even light distribution. We'll see what happens, but, you know, again, little mods. This thing is huge. It's 2020. It's pretty much a sandbox. You can print and make anything for 2020 aluminum extrusion. There's a ton of thing files out there on Thingiverse, STLs, that you can print all kinds of random things. Like I said, I got this from one of the guys in the Facebook group. Shout out to him. Don't remember his name right now, my bad dude, but I'm gonna put a link down to his item wherever I post this at. It's also in my write-up on the Folgertech forums. You know, check it out. It's a great bit of information. It's all lessons learned. It's completely my opinion. You know, none of this is a reflection of anything except for how the kit is and how I feel building it. I know my way about electronics. I am not an electrician. I'm not an idiot either though, so that kind of helps out. This kit here was fairly easy. This kit took a little more time. Obviously it's bigger, but the whole soldering thing kind of takes time because you don't want to screw up too much. Oh, one other thing I didn't mention. So there's shrink tubing on here. They don't give you any for that, which is bad, very bad. You must heat shrink. When you do solder joints and you have bare wire hanging out, you must do it. It's a huge safety risk if you don't. Get electrical tape if you don't have this, but also, and the things I recommend to buy is a bunch of heat shrinking so that you can properly isolate each of the wires. Because if you have a positive negative right there next to each other and they pop over, granted it's only 12 volts, it's bad news. You do not want to be messing around with stuff like that. You need to do things the proper way when it comes to power. So that is a big must in my book. Other than that, I think that's it. So, you know, enjoy it. If you guys are thinking about getting this printer, it is pretty awesome. A little bit of work. Takes about 20 hours to build. You know, you're going to spend a little bit of time doing the modifications, adding things here and there. So have at it. If you like it, you know, let me know. If you have any comments, let me know. More and more, I'm going to do a lot more videos on upgrades that I do, things that I do to this. If I add a lot of people are adding the E3D print head on it, extruder. I don't know if I'm going to do that, but there's a lot of other things I have planned, and it's going to be a pretty fun ride. So y'all take care now.